getting a lot more expensive because mainly the Russians have got so many more drones and also an increased number of long-range rockets.
And this is video of the fiery aftermath. The Kremlin says the strike could hurt ongoing peace talks with Ukraine.
A $2 billion fuel fortress designed to feed Russia's war machine, gone in a single night. How did Poland's drone strike pull off what looked like Mission Impossible? This wasn't just bombs on tanks. It was drones marking targets, jets blinding radars, and cyber teams breaking digital locks.
Strong effect today. They targeted another one of Russia's largest oil refineries. It was the Bashneft facility on the outskirts of Ufa in central Russia.
You're about to see how a layered multi-domain assault ripped through Russia's defenses in minutes. But the real question, if Atlas can fall, what else isn't safe anymore? Stay with this because the answer shifts how we understand every front line today. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. Costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video. A depot bigger than a sports stadium, guarded by armored vehicles, missile batteries, and radar towers. Yet Poland cracked it open within hours. This was not the fall of a weak outpost. It was the unraveling of a fortress designed to be untouchable. Atlas, the codename for Russia's massive fuel reserve, was more than rows of storage tanks. It was ringed by surface-to-air systems meant to knock down anything larger than a bird. Sensor nets tracked thermal signatures. Concrete barriers shielded perimeter guns. At ground level, armored patrols circled in timed loops, while buried cables connected command centers to missile pads on standby. By design, it looked unbreakable. No one expected cheap drones and cyber units to press against such a grid of firepower. Long-range SAMs had trained for jets and bombers, not small plastic wings hauling warheads the size of water jugs. But that is exactly what happened.
You saw there the two low-flying choppers unleashing a barrage on the depot, and then they swooped away before dawn.
A new kind of assault, nimble, layered, precise, hit Atlas where it was weakest, in its eyes and ears. The opening blow came in silence. Recon drones, each no larger than a motorcycle frame, skimmed low over the treetops. Their cameras scanned for the outline of fuel silos, their lasers painting invisible crosses for the strike packages circling above. Moments later, kamikaze UAVs followed, slamming into watchtowers and shredding early warning radars. They didn't level the place in one strike. They carved holes, forcing Russian gunners to twist toward phantom signals. You can picture it. One drone buzzing just beyond cannon range, pulling a cruise aim, while three more swooped from another direction.
But another official's response was more ambiguous. At any rate, these are eyewitness videos of the alleged attack.
This wasn't brute force. It was a squeeze from three dimensions: sky, ground, and cyberspace. The pattern was obvious. Choke the senses first, then take the shot.
Getting a lot more expensive because mainly the Russians have got so many more drones and also an increased number of long-range rockets.
But then the counterstrike came fast. Russian electronic warfare units saturated the spectrum. Jammers poured static across widebands, blinding screens and freezing drone telemetry. Live feeds went black. Pilots stared at empty monitors while swarms drifted without command. For a moment, it looked like Atlas had regained its shield. Polish crews were ready for this. Deep inside mobile vans, cyber specialists switched to encrypted jump links. Instead of relying on a single channel, they bounced data through short-burst packets, piggybacking on low-orbit satellites. Telemetry snapped back online. Pilots saw their drones again, and coordinates streamed into fire control systems. What was meant to be chaos turned into proof.
But British intelligence assesses this could add even more strain to Russia's military logistics problem.
Redundancy kept the attack alive. The battle for the airwaves turned into an electronic knife fight. Each side pulsed, jammed, and counter-jammed, trying to seize seconds of clarity. Meanwhile, F-35 fighters, invisible on Russian radar, cut corridors through the interference. Their electronic suites not only suppressed hostile sensors but shielded patches of sky so UAVs and Apache gunships could slip through. One moment the air was thick with static. The next, a clean channel sliced open for the Polish advance. On the ground, Apaches exploited those gaps. They skimmed treetops in the early mist, firing guided rockets that cracked open camouflaged gun nests and knocked out mobile missile launchers. Each strike opened another corridor.
Come in via helicopter and transport plane to engage in their now completely collapsed blitzkrieg.
Stretching Atlas thinner and thinner. Think of a steel serpent sliced across multiple joints. It writhes, but it cannot bend as before. Air superiority was contested. MiG interceptors lifted to challenge the skies. But stealth jets had their number. Operating in hunter-killer pairs, F-35 sensors tagged the MiGs long before visual contact. Within minutes, the threat was driven back, leaving the depot exposed to more drone waves. At the same time, Special Forces teams exploited the wider breach. Cutting through thinly manned flanks, they reached Atlas's central communications hub. Inside, they ripped fiber links and seized switching equipment.
Just having an effect on the Russian armed forces. I think that they feel that the effect on the Russian armed forces is not yet as impressive as they hope it will be if they manage to destroy a little bit more of that.
The Russians immediately blamed the Ukrainians. Of course, that raised questions of whether Russia was lying again.
With those feeds dead, the Russian command net faltered. Orders slowed, units staggered, and whole sections of defense stalled awaiting signals that never came. This is the moment the fortress broke. It wasn't the size of the bombs or the thickness of armor. It was domination of the invisible battlespace, control over data, signals, and perception. Atlas's walls were breached not just with explosives, but with silence forced into its circuits.
Situation where about 20% of Russia's oil refining capacity is either completely out of commission or operating at reduced capacity.
But seizing the perimeter was only the beginning. The real test waited deeper: how to strike the core fuel reserves without losing control of the delicate net that held the assault together. Atlas fell not because its walls were weak, but because its lifeline, data, signals, and sensors was severed. Steel and fuel mean nothing when the fight is decided in wavelengths and code.
And this is video of the fiery aftermath. The Kremlin says the strike could hurt ongoing peace talks with Ukraine.
The raid proved that a battlefield can be lost the moment you lose control of the invisible spectrum. And that leaves a hard question. If a billion-dollar depot collapses in one night, what does that say about airfields, command bunkers, or ports ringed in defenses? The age of fortresses is over. Subscribe and join a community that seeks to understand the realities of modern conflict.